All right, is there a motion to go back into open session?
I'll make a motion to go back into open session.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. We are back in open session. Is there a motion to appoint Officer Ben Thuman to the position of police detective and Officer Garrett Carr to the position of police lieutenant with the Wausau Police Department?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. Congratulations, Officer Thuman and Officer Carr. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Dan, good. How are you? Good. Congratulations. Thank you. Yeah. That's why these guys are such a great department. Oh my gosh. Garrett, congratulations. Yeah. Well deserved. I don't know.
All right, next on the agenda, we have monthly presentations. Start a monthly presentation with the Police Department. Chief Bliven, good morning.
Hey, good morning. I just wanted to touch base on a couple of things quickly. Both of them are from last week. We had our accreditation visit last week. That is a triannual visit every 3 years. They come to the police department and check our files and make sure that we are worthy of accreditation. So they spent 3 days last week, and our staff did a fantastic job. Lieutenant Cord Buckner, who's now retired, was responsible for getting us ready. He retired a month before the on-site visit, so he spent 3 years getting us ready and then retired just before they came. But a lot of good things from the assessors that they said about Cord Buckner as a result of his work and the organization of his files and that kind of thing. Lieutenant Jill Kurtzall's replaced Cord in that position. Captain Melinda Pauls and Lieutenant Nathan Seiler, they were all very integral in our accreditation process. And so the accreditors sat down with us at the end of the 3 days and really gave a rundown of what they saw in our department, and it was glowing. They had so many nice things to say about the department, from our crisis assessment response team and our victim resource unit, and the work that we've done to stand up those teams and the work that they do in the community. Actually, one of the assessors did a ride along with Officer Carr, and the assessor had nothing but very good things to say about Garrett and in his time with Garrett. A couple of things that they mentioned. They mentioned the report writing. So as part of the proofs, there's 300 or so standards that we need to meet, and we have to have a proof for every standard every year. So if you think of a file, it's got a 2019, 2020, and 2021 folder in there, and we have reports for each year that demonstrates that we've met that specific proof. So there's a lot of police reports in these files. And so the comment from the assessor was that accreditation is something that is embedded in our entire organization all the way through our newest patrol officer, and they see that in how we write reports and how that we make sure that we document the very detail-oriented things, like when we have somebody who's a prisoner in the back of our squad car, we write in our report that at the beginning of the shift we searched the back of that squad car, and then after we took the prisoner out of the squad car, we searched it again to make sure that there wasn't any evidence or anything that was discarded in the back of that squad car. And those are very basic things for police officers, but they notice that we do that throughout the organization. So I thought that was worth mentioning and worth noting to you, that we've been through that accreditation visit. Very glowing reviews from the assessors. The next step is at the Wisconsin Law Enforcement Accreditation Group board meeting in March. They will meet, they will discuss our assessment, the recommendations of the assessors, and then hopefully in April we'll find out whether or not we'll receive that accreditation. And the next thing is Governor Evers was here last week, and he was at the fire department, and then we had the opportunity to give him a tour at the police department, and he was talking about a shared revenue plan and what that would look like for municipalities, which would be a significant. Significant to our budget. Half of the shared revenue that he's talking about giving back to municipalities would be required to be spent on public safety, either police and fire. And so that's significant because we have, I mentioned the Victim Resource Unit earlier, that is a grant-funded program. And so to be able to sustain that once the grant funding runs out, we need to be able to tax and use levy dollars for those types of programs. And so we had an opportunity to walk the governor through the department, introduced him to a lot of our staff, and talked about a lot of our programs. So that was a good opportunity for us. And then the last thing I just wanted to ask is we have 2 candidates for next meeting for police officer, and one of the candidates is in the military, and he's stationed in New Jersey. And so my hope would be that we'd be able to facilitate a virtual interview for him. So that we could get him started when he is discharged from the military in May. So that's something to consider, and Mr. Harris can let me know down the line if that's going to be acceptable. And that's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Have you met with that individual strictly video, or have you?
Both, yes. Yep. He's been through the polygraph here at the department, so he's been through all the steps. We met both virtually and in person with him.
Because virtually is almost unfair.
It's definitely different than in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks to Amanda for being here and filling in for Amy.
Yeah.
Yes.
William, I'm going to.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you, Chief Livin. Mission appreciates your department's service. And next up, we have Chief Bartek to give the monthly report from the fire department. Good morning, Chief.
Good morning. I'll be brief. First, is there any questions, specific questions about the? Sure.
Question, the 2 candidates we lost, and then the one that didn't make it. Can you just elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, it's so let's talk about recruitment. That's a sore subject with me right now. I'm showing the bruises. It's a highly competitive market right now, and we were seeing candidates stolen from us. I shouldn't say stolen. Candidates are choosing to go to municipalities, say like Eau Claire or Green Bay. They have family, other things closer to. They're coming out with a very liberal posting that we had. Other departments around the state are following suit, including municipalities like that, and therefore it's high quality candidates are being competed for right now. And yeah, we lost a few, and so that's unfortunate. We had actually one candidate last would have been 2 weeks ago on Thursday, right before I was leaving on vacation, and called. We had been on 3 months, and called me and gave his notice that he was going to Eau Claire Fire because he's got family there. We invested 3 months of training in him and whatnot like that, and so it's a sore subject. We've got a posting going on right now. We've adjusted our minimum requirements. There's hope. Let me talk about the hope that we have in recruitment and filling all 74 positions. So first off, our old number was 62. Our new number with a dozen new positions is 74. Right now we are sitting at 68. So we've got 6 of those newer positions. So we're ahead of where we were. So that's good. How we've made some adjustments is the North Central Technical College program, paramedic program, which that's really the most difficult of the requirements that we require to have, is they need to have that paramedic along with firefighting credentials. They currently have 24 students in their program at North Central Tech for paramedic. Now this is the same program that we have 6 candidates in a Wausau Fire Department cohort. And so there's a total of 30 in that class. There's 6 that are Wausau Fire Department employees that are at Station 2 underneath the leadership of a firefighter paramedic we've got working with them. So we're looking to do a recruitment of candidates that are currently enrolled in a Wisconsin Technical College paramedic program. Other paramedics that we've hired have coming from Fox Valley Technical College, Midstate Technical College. They're finishing their paramedic studies in May. So what we did with this announcement was we advertised EMT Basic as the minimum plus enrollment in a Wisconsin Technical College paramedic program, meaning that more emerging students that are coming out of any of these programs around the state, as they come out in May, they'll be finished, or this North Central Technical College program, which we already have students in that class. We could direct recruit right out of that class and bring them on board and basically move them out of the North Central Technical College cohort to the Wausau Fire cohort. And we're seeing some good response from that. So I'm optimistic. We knew this was going to be a difficult one. I don't fault any of the candidates. They've got a tough choice. They've got, municipalities competing for them right now, which it's a strange thing for me, because when I made it onto Wisconsin Rapids in 1993, there was some 80 applicants. I was put on a list of 30, and I was ranked number 1. I was the only one hired off that list for 3 years. And so the competitiveness now is totally switched, and it's not in our favor. So it's a tough market.
Yeah. And then shifting to my comment,
Yeah.
you're mentioning that you're going to start your strategic planning in March.
Yeah.
Which is like, one of my favorite things to do in the world.
Great.
I don't want to be part of it, but I just want to
Oh.
give you some comments. But I think that, certainly businesses think a lot about externalities, like market forces. And I don't feel like that local governments always do that. Yeah, they might talk about financial pressures, but I think as you do that, it'll be really important to consider the externalities that are going to shape this department going forward. Because as I read your report, recruitment is a big one, right? But also, your ability to get your equipment fixed. You had equipment down because you couldn't get people in to fix it. There are things that, as proactive and forward-leaning as you want to be in shaping the department, that you just can't deny. And I think spending a lot of time thinking through those issues and how you want to position the department is going to be incredibly important to the future of this department. Unfortunately, last week I was in the emergency room, and the lady that was at the front desk, it must have been her first day. The x-ray tech was from somewhere south. She called me sweetie. And then somebody else was from somewhere else. And that's part of healthcare now.
Yeah.
But when I was in healthcare, I was up at night thinking about the idea around high reliability. And I think that's true of your department. And it's when you have constant turn or new people coming in, and there's always new pieces that are part of every call or every situation, how do you achieve consistent high quality outcomes? And I think that thinking through that lens of your department's ability to be available and reliable is going to be incredibly important to this community. And I think we're facing one of the most important times as a community is whether or not we're going to win or lose in terms of providing services to our community and being a great place to live, because we are competing. We are competing, but we have a unique position because we are kind of the county seat of northern Wisconsin, and we have an advantage that way, I think. But the shape, the counties might approach you to say, hey, can you serve and solve the rural EMS problem for us? And I think we need to think long and hard about whether or not we want to do that to the detriment of our citizens. So thinking through those lenses, I think, will be really important. And I'm excited to see what you come up with. I think it's an incredibly important time for this community, and Godspeed with it all.
Yeah, you bring up a lot of really excellent points. Fleet is a massive issue for us. We all our rolling stock that's our reliability, and it has to be reliable. It's a difficult thing right now. DPW, who is our first point of contact for repairs, they've struggled with recruitment of quality mechanics. They've got a facility that does not meet the needs of this community anymore, and it hasn't for a long time. They need to get that replaced. That's essential for the fire department. Our facility, Station 1, screams at our female candidates that you're not welcome here because it's a open bunk room. We got one bathroom upstairs for them that they've got to share. The facility is not welcoming to new candidates. And when you go to municipalities and agencies that have been forward-leaning into all of those things and solving those problems, people want to come out. They want to have reliable equipment that's well maintained, that they want to have comfortable, safe facilities, that they have privacy in those moments when they need privacy, and that all their needs are met at the station. All those things need to be solved by our municipality and continue to be solved. And I think that strategic plan is a great starting point to identify those things for the community, and then start as a community moving forward on it. And I think that we're already making a lot of progress on some of those things. One of the things I was going to highlight in here is, as Jared Thompson mentioned, the new ambulance that's on its way that was ordered. We're going to have to order another one down the road. They've gone so drastically high up in price that we didn't anticipate this type of a market pace in pricing an ambulance. I think the new ambulance is going to be near $360,000. And 5 years ago, you asked me if 220,000 would bought an ambulance, I would have said sure. But one of the things that we're doing in that, he mentions in his report, is that it's being CAS accreditation equipped. So we have hit the send button on our accreditation, our first accreditation process of our department, and we're now getting our first feedback from the reports that we've fed. I had to answer 4 questions last week that they had. We're looking forward to a site visit sometime this spring, and I think that when we have those processes in place for identification of a problem inside the department that needs a solution, and especially an external one, where they look at the best of EMS agencies across the nation and say, here's the benchmark, and here's how you're going to get to that benchmark. I think that those are strong things, and fleet is a big part of that. Recruitment is a big part of that. Communications, you name it. It's a very complete and thorough look. So despite the lack of this gap in time in our strategic plan from the last time that it ran out to the current one, and I'll argue that it might have a date on it, but the strategic plan never really run out. No, it sets the goals and mission and all, the value of the values that the department sets forth moving forward. But we're due for a fresh look at it. So we're working on a lot of things, and it's in my desk a lot of times it's a whack-a-mole. Every day I've got new problems that pop up and that divert my time and away from other things where I really need to talk about long-term planning. And so we're working on that as a group. My officers are outstanding. We got great people inside the organization looking at a lot of stuff. One of the things I want to highlight that you mentioned, rural EMS and reliability. And we are finding more and more, we're seeing an increase, and actually in my annual report, I'm going to be highlighting this, is that we're becoming more and more, because we're the steady, most reliable agency. We're the only all-career agency in the region that we have rural EMS. Rural EMS is collapsing in Wisconsin. They're reaching more and more to us. I've heard multiple calls, anecdotally, a municipality that we do not provide contracted ambulance service for like we do for Maine or Texas or some of these to the north. They can't staff their first out ambulance, and they're calling Wausau Fire for a 911 call in their municipality. We've made several trips in the last month up to Taylor County. We do ALS intercepts because we are the last stop for EMS in this region for a high quality ALS care. And last week when the governor was here, I wasn't able to be here, but if you read that press release, he speaks to a Wisconsin Policy Forum article that just came out that surveyed that 21% of all rural EMS agencies have 6 providers or less. So picture a small municipality in Wisconsin, maybe northern Wisconsin, pick a town, Crandon, wherever, where I grew up. That little EMS agency's got 6 EMT basics or less, a lot of times 2 or 3 that are holding that glue together. That's what forces guys like my dad, who's in his 70s, to stay on the fire department, because he feels like when he pulls out that there's nobody that's going to fill in that role. And so at Wausau Fire, we have our first duty is to the citizens, but I think that we need to examine how we're going to answer this growing need of the region in EMS quality care. And the ones that write contracts with us, then we know we're going to expect that. We expect along the 29 corridor, as far west as Owen-Withy and as far east as Wittenberg, we've got ALS contracts that they may call. They need a paramedic. We're going to meet them on Highway 29. We're going to have Wausau paramedics make life-saving interdictions all over this region. And I'm proud of that. We're able to do that. We're able to support that through the MABUS agreements and the contracts we write with them. But the municipalities that we don't have those contracts with, we need to address that and how we're going to manage the money. That's where it's at, and then the people. So good points. All well taken. Thank you.
All right. I just wanted to highlight really quickly, notice in the report, what I think it's some very important trainings. Now, we hope we'll never experience something like COVID again, but it's better to be prepared for situations like that. And I noticed you took the mass casualties incidents course, and I also noticed the official death notifications training, which I think goes a long way in continuing to build better ways to interact with the public and show empathy during some people's worst days. Can you highlight that for us?
Sure. So first off, Jared Thompson led that training. It was an outstanding training on the death notification. And that is it's about paramedic resiliency too, having an understanding how to go about a death notification, because when our paramedics respond to residents, they may go into an active role of trying to save that life, and they may be in communication with the emergency room doctor, and they may do a call that person at the home. And that may be a shock that they've watched life-saving interventions done in their living room and they've lost a loved one. And now we've got to, as they've witnessed this all occur, we've got to notify that loved one that their spouse, their son, whatever it might be, has not lived through this crisis. And having the right words, having some training in that definitely is helpful, but it's also about our resiliency of our people to do that maybe multiple times in a day on a bad day. And how do you have that mental well-being to go about it with compassion, which is one of our core values, and professionalism to make it sincere and known and take time to listen to those people, but yet still try to get available for that next 911 call. It's difficult. We've onboarded 3 chaplains. They've been extremely helpful. They were helpful in that death notification training, but our people, by the position that they're in, have to do that on a frequent basis, unfortunately. Yes, and you highlighted my trip to Anniston, Alabama, to the Center for Domestic Preparedness. This is a FEMA site. I'd applied for that training, was selected for that training, and it was all about healthcare leadership for mass casualty events. Actually, it's not COVID type stuff that we were talking about. We're talking about
Hurricanes and,
hurricanes, you name it, natural
storms, yeah.
disasters, mass casualty shootings, things like that. And it's all about having resiliency inside of our community to withstand those. What we're really prepared for on a day-to-day basis is that day-to-day call volume that we see. And now when we see a mass casualty event occur in our community, and we can all look back in our careers and reflect on the ones that we've had and take lessons, but how do you be forward-leaning into things like that? There was 42 in the class. They were from all over the nation. It was really a wonderful time to connect with some people. I was outnumbered. Typically, they see like a third coming from hospitals, a third public health, and a third pre-hospital. I was the only pre-hospital provider in the room, so that became interesting. And then it all culminates with on the last day of training when you're at the CDP. It's a former Army base, the Noble Army base, and they actually have a hospital there. They've got a community set up. They've got collapsed structures. They've got all kinds of things there. And so they simulate an actual mass casualty event in which you're working with other classes that are on site, training and other things. So there was a hazmat group there. So the last day of the training, we're in the cafeteria at like 6 a.m. and the TVs come on in the cafeteria, and it's a news report from a PIO. Doing this news report about how there's a political rally at noon that's highly contentious, that there's some type of white supremacists are going to have a rally that's going to overlap with that, and then all of a sudden the camera starts shaking, and the reporter says, "Oh, are we having an earthquake?" And then we've got to get onto the buses, and we head to our training site, and we get to the training site. They've got 30 to 40 actors out there that are pounding on the bus as we get off the bus. Where's my loved one? I need help, yada, yada, yada. And then we've got to go to work. We've got to implement our national incident management system and all the teamwork and stuff to go about that. So it's a lot of fun. We treated, all these actors. I got to deliver a baby. We had all kinds of fun stuff. I'll show you pictures maybe, but it was great training. And so I'm encouraging my staff to also attend that. And as Michael talked when we were in closed session, that's integral. Our local healthcare providers have to have annual mass casualty event training, and we're a big part of that because we're the ALS provider pre-hospital. So having us prepared for that stuff is essential. So it was great training. I was privileged to go. Thank you.
All right.
Any other questions on it?
All right. Well, again, I offer our gratitude from the commission. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, the next meeting will be scheduled for Monday, March 27th at 7:30 a.m. Is there any other further discussion? If not, may I please have a motion to adjourn this meeting? Is there a second? All right, all those in favor? All right, aye. Motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you.